Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you guys join me today on this topic, this subject, this issue. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt it is going to be a tremendous, tremendous blessing for a whole lot of people. As always, I want to ask you to do me a favor. It's really simple. If you hear something that blesses you, share it on your timeline, share it in the social media vehicles that you have. Be a digital disciple and share. I truly do believe that this moment is a God ordained moment because I had no intentions of doing anything today in terms of video, not for Facebook or any other social media platforms. But it's been really in my spirit and on my heart to take a snapshot of this moment and teach because there are so many people who are looking and watching, commenting, having an opinion. And I know that you can't create a wave, but you can always be ready for the wave when it manifests. And if you're ready, then you can ride that wave. And right now, marriage has become the number one issue in our country. It has become the hottest topic in social media and as well as the hottest topic in every other place that you go right now. Everybody's talking about Will and Jada Smith. One of the things I wanted to do today was to provide some free marriage coaching for two groups of people. First of all, number one, those of you who are married, because I know oftentimes we don't place a premium on marriage counseling, or we are ashamed to get it when we need it because there is such a stigmatism associated with marriage counseling or counseling of any type in most cases. So I wanted to provide this today and hopefully it'll be an ongoing thing that I will be able to do. I hope it'll be a thing that you will appreciate because I'm going to share with you some insight. I'm going to give you some insight that comes from 33 years of being married. And it's a marriage that has experienced many ups, many downs, as in all marriages. It's a marriage that has been a marriage where we have allowed ourselves to grow and learn through our trials and tribulations, and then take that information and, number one, make ourselves better individuals, and number two, help as many people as we possibly can, because I believe that's the purpose of the things that we go through in this life, the things that we learn, the things that we experience, the knowledge that we, gather in life. I think it's so that we can share it with others so that others can learn through our experiences. I hope to be able to do this in about 30 minutes, honestly. But the most important thing is I want you to share it. That would be the most important thing you could do today. Marriage coaching today. Here's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the fact that there is something more powerful than love, especially in a marriage. There is something more powerful than love in a marriage. And I know that might sound strange because when we talk about marriage, we always talk about love and marriage go together like a baby, a horse and a carriage. I think that's how that song goes. However it goes, I need you to understand something, that love is important, but there is something more powerful than love. I'll even go as far to say that there is something even more important than love. Now you say, well, man, I don't know what could be more important than love in a marriage. Well, I'm going to tell you what it is in a few minutes. But before I tell you what's more important than love, what's more powerful than love in a marriage, I want to talk about what happens in most marriages sooner or later. I don't know a couple who's been together for any length of time that has not experienced what I call the couple disconnect. The couple disconnect happens to every couple that has been together for any length of time. It is normal and it is natural. It is not something that you can ignore, because if you ignore it, that disconnect goes from something that is meant to be temporary and it becomes something that could be permanent. Now, when a couple is disconnected, their complaints normally sound a little like this: he doesn't get me. If you're married, this may sound familiar. Or she doesn't get me. When a couple is disconnected, you might hear something like this: nothing I do is good enough. I know that one is a common one. Or you might hear something like this: we are as opposite as night and day. I've done a lot of marriage counseling, and that's one of the most common ones that I have heard over the last 33 years, is that, man, we are just We're just different. We're as different as night and day. And here's what I want you to know. The number one cause of couple disconnect, it's not money. I know you think, and I know money plays a huge part in marriages succeeding or failing, or marriages having their trials and tribulations. But let me tell you something. There is something out there that is more pervasive than a lack of money. There is something out there that's more dangerous to your marriage than sometimes people say in-laws are a problem. In some marriages, not all. Some people say it's just incompatibility. Let me tell you something. All of those don't compare to the number one cause that couples become disconnected. Here it is. The number one reason why couples become disconnected is because of a lack of intimacy. Yeah, this is going to bless somebody. A lack of intimacy is the number one reason why couples become disconnected. And I know you think, well, no, I thought it was money. I thought it was the lack of sex in a relationship. I thought it might have been the children. No, I promise you, the number one cause of couples becoming disconnected is a lack of intimacy. Now, the reason why this subject is important is because most people who are married think they understand what intimacy is, but I have discovered that most people do not know what intimacy is. Most people do not have a clear definition, let alone a deep understanding of what intimacy is. Let me clarify for you right off the cuff so that you and I can get on this train and ride it together. Intimacy is not sex. See, when I say intimacy, most people automatically think sex. Intimacy is not sex. That's a fact, because you can have sex and not be intimate. So let us not make intimacy and sex the same thing, because then if we do that, we create unnecessary problems. Now, I want to tell you what intimacy is so that you can understand how important it is to keep a couple in a marriage from disconnecting. Here's what intimacy is. Intimacy has everything to do with the fundamental desire that we all have, and that is the fundamental desire to be known. That's what intimacy is. It's the desire to be known. You look at the word intimacy, and you can understand it by listening just to the way it sounds phonetically. Listen to the word intimacy. 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 Some have broken it down this way. Into me, see. Into me, see. Intimacy, into me, see. See, intimacy is that desire to have somebody look into you and see your true value, see your true worth, see you for who you truly are, and be in love with what they see. That's what intimacy is. It's not sex. It's somebody taking the time to really get to know you. It's somebody taking the time to go beyond the physical appearance and the physical attraction, going beyond whatever sexual drive may be present or sexual interest may be present. Intimacy is something so much deeper than that, because it's when somebody or two people take the time, do the work to look deep within each other to see who that person is. Now, here's why intimacy is so powerful. And listen, I believe it's even more powerful than love. And I know it's more important than love. Here's why intimacy is powerful and important. Intimacy will produce transparency. Intimacy also produces truth. But last but not least, intimacy produces trust. Those are the three T's that intimacy produces. Transparency. When you're intimate with somebody and they have taken the time to look into you and see your heart, to get to know your spirit, to get to know who you are from the inside out. When that happens between a man and a woman, transparency shows up. Why? Because when you reach that level, you don't feel like you have to hide. When you reach that level, here's what's important. You feel like you don't have to pretend. That's the beauty of intimacy. When you reach a level of intimacy with your husband or your wife, there is no need to pretend. You're able to be you. You're able to do you. There is a sense of freedom. There's the word right there. There's a sense of freedom and a sense of liberty. Why? Because I'm with someone that does not require or demand that I pretend. I'm with someone that allows me, you've heard people say this, to let my hair down. That's transparency. But intimacy also produces truth. See, one of the most powerful things that you get out of intimacy is the ability to be absolutely truthful with your husband or your wife. When you don't have intimacy, truth becomes a struggle. When you don't have intimacy, truth becomes a challenge. And you know that when we aren't able to be truthful, we sometimes falter to the default of being someone who would rather lie or not be truthful and honest. Intimacy also produces one of the most powerful things: trust. Trust, trust can never be had in a relationship where there is intimacy. So we start dating people and we start getting in relationships with people, and we instantly want to trust people. We instantly want to be trusted, but trust takes time. Transparency takes time. Guess what? Truth takes time. Why? Because I need to know that I can trust you to see me for who I really am. This is why a lot of relationships start out great, because everybody's putting their best foot forward. When we're dating, we're saying the right things. We're behaving in a way that is impressive. We're showing up in a way that is impressive. We're conversating in a way that is impressive. But I have been saying for years that truth tells the truth on everybody. And I encourage people in the dating stage that the most important thing you can do is just be truthful. Because whatever pretense you put up in the beginning, it's only a matter of time before it's revealed to be not legitimate. Now, here's what intimacy is. It's to be loved by someone who looks into us for the sole purpose, don't miss this, to love us, to lift us, and lead us. Ooh, that's why I'm teaching this today. Oh, I think every married couple should have had this lesson at the beginning and probably need a refresher course. Again, here's the purpose of intimacy. Here's what intimacy is. It is to be loved by someone who looks into us to love us, to lift us, and to lead us. Thank you for those of you that are joining us and just not coming on. Do yourself a huge favor. When this is over, go back and watch it from the beginning, because jumping in the middle, you're going to miss something I've already said that's really important. Now, understand that the purpose of intimacy is to love, to lift, and to lead. And I'm talking about the man leading the woman, but don't miss this. I'm also talking about the woman leading the man. Now, that might sound strange to those of you that might have grew up in a religious community, because you may be more accustomed to hearing that the man is the head and the man is the leader. And listen, that is actual and that is factual. That is biblical. Yes, the man is the head. Yes, the man is the leader. But when we talk about intimacy, you have to understand that the man is supposed to lead the woman somewhere, and the woman is supposed to lead the man somewhere. See, if you don't know this, then you'll be trying to figure out intimacy, and as a man, you won't allow your wife to lead you. Why? Because you think, well, I'm the head and I'm supposed to be doing all the leading. Not in the realm of intimacy. Now, the question is, Pastor, you're telling me that if a husband and a wife are going to have true intimacy, they have to do three things. They have to love each other, they have to lift each other, and they have to lead each other. Now, the question is, where are they leading each other? Where is the husband leading the wife, and where is the wife supposed to lead the husband in the realm of intimacy? I'm so glad you asked. Listen, this is 33 years of marriage experience. I know exactly what I'm talking about because I've been in those places. I've been in those places in 33 years where the intimacy was not there. I've been in those places in 33 years of marriage where my wife and I were disconnected. We've gone through that a couple of times, actually. And I wish there was more transparency between couples. I wish that more couples would really be more transparent and more honest, because we have so many people out here in this world walking around with this fantasia image of marriage, and they don't really have a clue what marriage is all about. They get their ideas about marriage from Disney and from some story time, book or something. But marriage is a journey. Marriage is a challenge. I don't care how much love is involved. Marriage has its moments of highs and lows. But if you can focus on the intimacy, and you can focus on the three purposes of intimacy: to love, to lift and to lead. I want to repeat this because this may be one of the most important things you've heard a long time about relationships. The man is supposed to lead the woman, and the woman is supposed to lead the man in the realm of intimacy. You say, well, where are we supposed to lead each other? Here's where you're supposed to lead each other: to that place where you are free to be free without judgment. Ooh, God, I got to pause because, man, that's good. That is good. That is good. That's where the husband is supposed to be leading his wife. That's where the wife is supposed to be leading her husband, to that place where both of you are free to be free without judgment. You would be surprised how many people are married and in bondage. You would be surprised how many people who are married and feel like they're prisoners. That's why people call marriage the ball and chain. You ever heard that? People call marriage the ball and chain because we are not leading each other to that safe place. We're not leading each other to that sacred place that says, you know what? You're my husband. You're my wife. I'm going to lead you to a place through love. I'm going to lead you to this place through intimacy where I look into you, you look into me, and whatever I see, I'm going to love it. I'm going to lift it, and I'm going to lead it to a place where when you get in my presence, you can be absolutely free. See, that's what marriage is supposed to create. There is nothing worse than being married to somebody that doesn't allow you to be free. There is nothing worse than to be married to someone and you feel like you have to put on a front or put on some facade, because when you do that, it's only a matter of time before you're going to get tired of acting. And then the real you is going to show up, and somebody's going to feel disenfranchised. Somebody's going to feel deceived. Why? Because you never allowed yourself to be seen thoroughly. You never allowed yourself to be seen through the lens of transparency. And you never allowed yourself to be led to a place where you could be absolutely free. That's why I'm telling you that intimacy is more powerful than love. Intimacy is more powerful than love because you can have love but not have intimacy. Now I know it's some married people gonna say amen about that. Yeah, you can be married and not have intimacy. You can have love and not have intimacy. As a matter of fact, most couples, if you aren't careful, you will start out cultivating intimacy in the beginning of your marriage. You will start out, once you get past those first couple of years, where you're trying to figure each other out, and you got a couple of rough moments and what I call intense moments of fellowship. Once you get past that initial challenging period of marriage, if you're not careful, you will lose your intimacy. In other words, you'll just be two people who are married. You'll be like two strangers in the night. You'll be like two roommates. And you may even succeed at accumulating numbers. I've been married 10 years. I've been married 20 years. How long you been married? Man, I've been married 30 years. How about you? I've been married 40 years. How about you? I've been married 50, 60, 70 years. Let me tell you something. You can be married for a long time and have love and not have intimacy. You'd be surprised how many married couples don't have intimacy. They got love because they love each other. They love each other because that's what their relationship was founded on. But there is very little or no more intimacy left. Why? Because they did not continue. This is good. They did not continue to cultivate intimacy. See, intimacy is a work. Intimacy is a decision. Intimacy is something that you have to pursue intentionally. It doesn't just happen magically. No. I'm telling you, after you've been with somebody for a while, you're going to have to work on that intimacy. Why? Because the longer you're with someone, the more you feel like you know them. The longer you're with someone, the more you feel like you've seen it all, you've heard it all, and you know everything that there is to know about that person. And that is the greatest deception among us all. Because here's what I've discovered. The longer you are with someone, the more there is for you to learn about the person you're with. Don't you ever think because you've been married to somebody for a long time that there is nothing else to learn about them. This is how sometimes we get off track and we become more interested in other people because we think, okay, there's a new person, there's somebody I don't know that well, and there's a lot more for me to learn about him or learn about her because they're new to me. Let me tell you something. The longer you're married to somebody, the more there is to learn about them. You say, I don't know how that's possible. Here's how it's possible, because we are always evolving. I got married when I was 19 years old. My wife was 18 years old. By the time I was 20, I was a different person. Yeah. By the time I was 30, I was a different person from the person I was when I was 20. Catch this. By the time I was 40, this is no joke, I was a totally different person than I was when I was 20 and 30. By the time I was 50, I was a totally different person than I was when I was 40, 30, and 20. Why? Because we keep evolving, we keep growing, we keep changing, we keep shifting. But if you stop learning about your husband and your wife, then you will feel like there's nothing left for me to learn. And then boredom sets in, lack of interest sets in, and then intimacy dissipates and disappears clean out of your relationship. This is why I am teaching you today that intimacy is more powerful than love, because you can have love and not have intimacy. But peep this, you cannot have intimacy and not have love. Woo. Man, that's good teaching right there. Can I say that again? You can have love and not have intimacy. There are millions of couples that have love, but they don't have any intimacy right now. But you cannot have intimacy and not have love. So love has to become more important. Love has to become intentional. Love has to be held on to, but intimacy has to be fused into the relationship. Why? Because we recognize without intimacy, we're not going to make it. Without intimacy, we'll just be living together, married on paper, but single in reality. Ooh, can I say that again? Without intimacy, you will, I promise you, without intimacy, you will become a couple who is married on paper, but separate in reality. How do I know? Because I've been there. And I don't mind telling you, if my wife was sitting here, she would tell you the same thing, that she's been through it as well. We're talking about 33 years being together with the same person. We're actually talking about 35 years of being together, because we dated 2 years before we got married. So imagine 35 years of being with the same person. Yeah, we've had our moments of disconnect. We've had our seasons of disconnect. We've had our seasons of no intimacy or a lack of intimacy. And it was because we stopped cultivating. We stopped learning about each other. We stopped pursuing that intimacy, which is looking into me and seeing who I am, seeing who I am becoming, seeing what I desire, seeing what I desire to be. Look into me and see. And let me tell you something. That's something that has to be done on a regular basis. If not, you will lose track of each other. You won't know where your husband is. You won't know where your wife is. And I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about mentally. I'm talking about spiritually. This is why you hear things like we just don't get each other. This is why you hear things like we are incompatible. This is why you hear things like we're just not on the same page. What is that? That is the lack of intimacy that has created a distance and a disconnect between two people who at one time were inseparable. I hope you guys are catching this, because this is powerful and this is important. Here's why intimacy is so important, and I'll close with this. Intimacy empowers you to engage in instant and meaningful conversations. Marriages do not thrive and they do not flourish without instant and meaningful conversations where you are enjoying sitting down and talking with the person you're married to. And I'm talking about real conversations that just flow, real conversations that flow so well that you lose track of time. Just like you did when you first started dating that person, or just like you did when you first married that person. See, you got to maintain this type of intimacy in your relationship. Why? Because we live in a world that is constantly jockeying for our attention. We live in a world that is filled with responsibilities. We live in a world that is filled with duties and obligations and things that we must do on a day-to-day basis. And if you're not careful, you will lose track of the intimacy in your relationship. Why? Because you were distracted by your job, or distracted by your children and getting them to all of their events, or you were distracted by your education or furthering your education, or you were distracted by having to cook meals, or you were distracted by your church involvement, whether you're a pastor or a minister or just a member. There are so many distractions in this world that will cause you to lose sight of your intimacy, that it will be gone before you realize you've lost it. And one of the litmus tests, I'm blessing you guys tonight, I promise you. One of the litmus tests to really know whether or not you still have healthy, thriving intimacy in your relationship is, do you engage in instant and meaningful conversations? Or do you find yourself only talking when you have to? Ooh. Do you find yourself only talking when there's a problem? Ooh, this is good teaching. Do you find yourself only talking when there is an issue with the kids, or issue with finances, or issue with ministry? If that's the only time you are kicking it with your wife, and that's the only time you're kicking it, I'm talking about from a conversational perspective, then I need to let you know that a lack of intimacy is setting in on your marriage. The good news is, when you identify what I'm teaching you, then you can confront it and you can fix it before it contaminates your relationship and metastasizes like a cancer, and your relationship becomes cold and old. Why? Because you never understood the value of intimacy. Intimacy also deepens your connection and intensifies your feelings and your desires. Yeah. See, I know you thought that was love. No, man, that's love. No, that's not love. That's intimacy. Because love fades. Love evolves. The things you love about a person today, you may not love about them 20 years from now. But intimacy deepens your connection and it intensifies your feelings and desires. Again, I want to help married couples all over the world. Another litmus test to tell whether or not your marriage is losing or lacking healthy intimacy is whether or not your connection is being deepened. The longer you're married, is that connection getting deeper, or is that connection fading away? The longer you're married, is that feeling of desire intensifying, or is that feeling of desire fading slowly but surely? If it's fading, guess what? Intimacy is the prescription. If your connection is not deep, intimacy is the answer. Here's something else that intimacy does, and I love this. Intimacy awakens your curiosity. Yeah. You remember how curious you are when you first marry somebody? You want to know everything about them. You want to know everything about them, where they grew up, what kind of sports they played, did they play sports, what kind of things they liked as a child. The curiosity level when you first marry somebody is off the scale. But anybody out there that's been married for any length of time will testify that when intimacy starts to fade, curiosity starts to fade. Litmus test. Are you still curious about your mate? Are you still inquisitive? Does curiosity drive your relationship? And I'm talking about curiosity about each other, a curiosity for each other, because let me tell you something, curiosity is key. Curiosity keeps the fire burning. Curiosity keeps the passion going. Curiosity keeps the conversation percolating. Why? Because I have an interest in you. I'm interested in you even though we've been married for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I'm still interested in you. I'm interested in what are you thinking? When's the last time you asked your husband or your wife, what are you thinking? What's on your mind? Why are you asking that? I'm just curious. I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts? If your curiosity is fading, mayday, 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 intimacy is also fading. I'll leave you with this one here. Intimacy produces more laughter. Y'all got to catch this. More playfulness, more fun, and more closeness. Now, somebody's going to thank me for this one. Here's another litmus test. If you're in a marriage and you're laughing less and less and less, I'm telling you something. Intimacy is fading, or it's left the building. If you're in a marriage and you are less playful than you were when you first got married, guess what? Intimacy has left the building. Your marriage ought to be filled with more fun. The only way you get to more fun is not finances, it's intimacy. I really get tired of couples using finances as an excuse. Well, Pastor Troy, I don't have a lot of money and money's kind of tight and I can't afford to do this and do that. Let me tell you something. That's not a financial issue. That's an intimacy issue. Because here's what I know about intimacy. Intimacy awakens creativity. Woo, good God Almighty. intimacy awakens creativity. If you can go back to when you first got married, when you didn't have money, you were creative. You were creative in ways to have fun, creative in ways to make each other laugh. You were creative. You remember? Come on, you remember. You were creative. It wasn't about money, it was about your creativity. Well, creativity is connected to intimacy. And when intimacy starts to fade, your creativity starts to fade. But check this out, your excuses start to multiply. See, intimacy is so important because it keeps the marriage fun. And then last but not least, intimacy produces more closeness. And this may shock some of you, but the longer you are married to someone, the closer you ought to be with them. The longer you're married to someone, you should be growing closer and closer and closer together. But what normally happens in our country, the longer somebody is married, if they don't keep intimacy as a foundation of their marriage, guess what happens? They grow further and further and further apart. The reason why they grow further and further apart, because it goes back to something I said earlier. When you marry somebody, both of you are continuing to grow. 20, 30, 40, 50. Every decade is a benchmark. Every decade, you are literally becoming a new person. Every decade, you evolve into the next version of yourself. So every decade, you're growing in a 10-year span. Here's the challenge. When there is no intimacy, both people are growing, but they aren't growing together. They're growing apart. Ooh. Yeah, you still love them, but there's nothing there that drives you wild about them. You still love them, but you could care less if you saw them or not saw them. You still love them, and you could care less if you talk to them or not talk to them. Why? Because intimacy has been allowed to leave the building, and now there's no closeness, there's no fun, there's no playfulness, and there's no laughter. When you lose the intimacy in your marriage, you become married on paper, but separate in reality. Ooh, can I say that one more time? When you lose the intimacy, when you allow the intimacy to fade, you become married on paper, but you become separate in reality. I need to encourage you today, however long you've been married, that you have got to attack this issue with intimacy. The prescription is intimacy. The answer is intimacy. What is intimacy? It is looking into someone for the sole purpose to love them, to lift them, and to lead them to that space and that place where they are free to be free in your presence. Woo, that's good teaching right there. I'll leave you with this. If you lose your intimacy in your marriage, you will lose each other. Gotta say it again. If you lose the intimacy in your marriage, you will lose each other. And it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how many couples are married today, and they have never heard a clear message about the importance and the power of intimacy. I hadn't heard it. When I got married some 33 years ago, I never heard a message on the importance of intimacy. All I ever heard about was love. All I ever heard was love. And if you got love, love is all you need. And if you got love, love will get you through the storm. And if you got love, love will keep us together. No, love will not keep us together. There is something more powerful than love. What is it? It's called intimacy. And if you learn how to make that the foundation of your relationship, your marriage won't just survive, but that thing will thrive. Laughter will return, joy will return, fun will return, deep conversations will return. Why? Because we've got intimacy now, baby. And we are looking inside each other, getting to know each other all over again. Getting to know how are you growing? What direction are you growing in? What are your dreams? What are your desires? What are your concerns? What are your fears? It's safe, baby. You can talk to me. I'm going to lead you to a safe place where you can be free to be free. Intimacy. Into me, see. See who I am. See who I want to be. See how I'm growing. See what I need. See what I'm missing. See what I'm longing. See what I desire for me and for us. See what I'm praying for. See what I'm hoping for. See what I'm believing for. See, that's what intimacy does. It is a never-ending journey into the person that you said I do with. I promise you, intimacy is way more powerful than love. Well, listen, that's all I've got for you today. Like I said, the Spirit was really on me heavy to jump on here and share this message. Coaching for marriage, something more powerful than love, and it's called intimacy. I hope that this gives you a tremendous greater understanding of the importance of intimacy. And I hope that if you're married, you just won't listen to what I'm teaching, but you'll take action. You may even have a conversation with your spouse tonight about some of those issues and some of those areas and say, hey, you know what? I want us to work on this area. I want us to work on this area. Why? Because I heard a message today. I heard a coaching on marriage, and the man was talking about intimacy and how important and how powerful intimacy is. Well, listen, guys, I thank you for your time. The only thing I want from you today is to share this video, because I believe there are billions of married couples out there who are hanging on by a thread. They love each other, but they can't figure out why they are disconnected. But if they can hear this, they will get an understanding that the answer and the prescription to the disconnection is something called intimacy. Love y'all. Appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing. God bless you.